ladies out here out front and pick up your yard signs. We got some more order. Chris has been trying to do a great job of getting around and visiting everybody, but the county's a big county. He can't make it everywhere. So if you support Chris and you support what he believes in and what he is, go tell your friends and neighbors that he's who we need as a sheriff. He's the most qualified candidate we got right now running for sheriff, and I really believe that. I'm going to get Chris up here. He's a fine young man. He's been married to my daughter now for 7 years. Got 3 wonderful grandchildren, and he has impressed me a lot over the last 7 years. And I think he'll impress you too if you'll just give him a chance to listen to him and listen to what his vision is here for the county. You ready, Chris? Keep talking while I come up. Does anybody want to know any dirt on Chris while I'm standing here? I don't know any dirt on Chris. I was just teasing. But I do know this, that Chris is his character is got a great, strong character. He's a good Christian young man. He's a great father, a great husband to my daughter, and he's a great friend to me. And I'm proud to call him a son. He is. Thank you. He has been one of the biggest blessings that I've had in my life as a father. And you always worry about what kind of young man your daughter's going to bring home with her. And but I can tell you this: he's the only young man that ever had enough nerve to drive all the way from Kansas, where him and my daughter were going to college. Drove all the way from Kansas on the weekend and asked me if he could date my daughter. That tells you a lot about his character. And so I'm going to just turn it over to him and let him step up. And we want your vote for Chris Brown for sheriff. Everybody hear me? Can you hear me in the back?
No.
Keep turning it up. Keep going. How about now, Brooke? Can you hear me in the back? Come on up. Keep going. Will it go higher? Can y'all hear me in the back, all the way back there? Keep going up. Keep going up. How about now? Can you hear me back there now? You're still saying louder. How about now? That better? No? All right, just listen a little louder then, okay? First, let me say thank you guys very, very much for coming out to support me tonight, and I've just been very overwhelmed to see the amount of folks here, and I'm just happy to have you all with me, and I'd love to answer any questions that you guys might have, or stand and talk to you if I can, okay? If you haven't got one of my little brochures yet, my telephone number is on there, and if you have any questions for me, please feel free to call me, okay? When I was 5 years old, my mom and dad went out to dinner, and they left me at home with my grandpa to babysit. Grandpa and I were sitting at the dining room table, and we were talking about different things, and at some point during our conversation, I was telling him how I wanted to be a police officer when I grew up. And at some point, I reached over and I grabbed our old rotary telephone off the counter there, and I picked it up and I dialed 911. And the operator answered and said, "Hello, 911, what's your emergency?" And I said, "No, I don't have an emergency. I want to meet a police officer because I want to be one someday." And I gave her my address and I hung the phone up. Well, my grandpa, sitting right there next to me, started chuckling. He didn't know that I actually knew how to use the phone. He thought I was pretending. My parents got home a short time later, and I proudly told them what I'd done, same thing. And they got a good chuckle out of it because they didn't know I knew how to use the phone either. And so you can imagine the surprise on all their faces when just a moment later there's a knock at the door, and my dad opens it up to see a police officer standing on the other side of it. You know, that police officer, he really could have handled that a couple of different ways. He could have chewed me out for misusing the 911 system. He could have chewed out my grandpa for allowing me to use the phone. But instead, he took me out to the car. He let me play with the lights and the siren. He showed me the gear on his belt. And he really instilled in me the way that he handled it. He instilled in me a burning desire, even more than I already had, to be a police officer when I grew up. So fast forward now several years later, I graduated college with a bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology. And I went to work full-time for the police department in Salina, Kansas, which is a city the size of Conway. At the same time I went to work there, I married my wife, Allie. Allie's in the back. You can say hi. Hey, would you bring me a glass of water up here, please? That worked well, didn't it? I worked in Salina for about 2.5 years until we had our oldest kiddo, and we really felt like the Lord was leading us to come back to Arkansas. So in January of 2011, I went to work for the Sheriff's Office here in Cleburne County, where I spent most of my time as a detective. In June of 2013, I had the wonderful opportunity to go to work for the Searcy Police Department, which is where I currently serve as a team leader on the SWAT team. I'm going to take a break for a second here. Give a glass of water, thank you. In the 8.5, 9 years that I've served as a law enforcement officer, I've attended over 1,300 hours of professional in-service training. I hold an advanced law enforcement certificate. I'm a law enforcement instructor, a certified law enforcement instructor, a certified firearms instructor, a certified tactical weapons instructor, and a certified concealed carry instructor. I believe that years served in law enforcement doesn't necessarily equal experience. I believe that experience is a very important thing, but I believe it's the right kind of experience that really matters. I'll give you an example. Somebody who works in a place like Cleburne for, say, 10 or 15 years is not going to have the same experience level as somebody who works in a place like New York or Los Angeles for even a year. Now, it's not that working in a place like Cleburne is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but it's different. When you work in a larger agency, you take a much higher volume of calls and a much wider variety of calls, and you season much more quickly because of it. I have worked in patrol. I've worked as a detective, and I've spent about 6 years on SWAT teams. I have worked on major homicides, suicides, shootings, stabbings, rapes, gang crime, kidnapping, and just about whatever else you can think of. I have the experience that it takes to serve this county as your sheriff. I have ideas on how to increase training without increasing the training budget. Because I'm an instructor, I have the ability to conduct almost all of that training in-house, which saves the department money. Not only that, but we can open those classes up to outside agencies for a fee and actually bring money for the county bring in money for the county. I have ideas on how to bring the department and the community closer together through programs like the Citizens Academy and the Explorers Program, two things that are very dear to my heart, and I would love to spend a little bit more time explaining to you if you catch me afterward. I think that mic is killing us, guys. I can hear some squeal. I don't know if you guys can or not. I have ideas on how to better fight the theft and the property crime in the county, which in turn will help us better fight the drug problem in the county.
Oh,
the way that we have fought the war on drugs up to this point has not worked. And no matter how many promises you get, it's going to continue not working because of the makeup of our county. Theft and drugs are almost always very closely related. And by focusing more on the theft problem, which is a much more fightable problem, by the way, we can more effectively target and fight the drug problem. I want to talk to you tonight for just a couple minutes about the differences between a boss and a leader. During the Revolutionary War, commanding officers were found at the back of military formations. This kept them mostly out of harm's way while they made their decisions. The problem with that was that there was no leadership right there on the front line with their soldiers. I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about micromanagement. What I'm talking about is the ability to motivate a group of people to accomplish a goal in the face of extreme adversity. And I would certainly say that combat is extreme adversity. Research has shown that soldiers that are and leaders that are in close contact with their soldiers are far more effective than leaders that are removed from their soldiers. And you can even see that in today's military, where the soldiers and the leaders are mixed right in, even in combat. You gonna fix it for me? You can hear it, right? Okay. I'm going to keep talking while you're doing that. Where was I? Retired Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman is a renowned author and a consultant to military and law enforcement personnel all around the world. In his first book, he discusses how ineffective training and distant leadership led to soldiers choosing either not to fire at their enemy when they needed to, or intentionally firing over the heads of their enemy, even if it placed themselves at risk. He goes on to break down the human aversion to violence and killing, and how without the right training and effective leadership, soldiers will consistently choose not to kill even if it means they have to die. They found that soldiers that were in close contact with their leaders would not do that. That leadership right there with them would help them do what they were trained to do when that moment came. And that's important. Those old commanding officers of old, they were good bosses. They were managers who were intelligent and they were skilled in the tactics of warfare. And yet in so many ways, they were inadequate leaders. Now on the opposite end of the spectrum, we can see the massive effects of superior leadership on the battlefield. From 489 to 480 BC, King Leonidas ruled over Sparta. He was best known for his warrior spirit and his leadership capabilities. And in 480 BC, he took a group of just 300 warriors into battle against the entire Persian Empire, which could have consisted of up to 300,000 soldiers. You guys imagine that? 300 on 300,000. Those 300 warriors knew that what they were walking into was almost certain death, and yet they went. King Leonidas didn't force them to go. He led from the front of the pack, and it was because of his strong leadership that those warriors followed him voluntarily. A boss knows how to hire and fire people. He knows how to order supplies. He knows how to play politics. But a leader knows how to motivate and inspire his employees, how to train his employees to be their best, and how to toe the line next to them. I brought a sign with me that illustrates the difference between a boss and a leader. And I want to share it with you guys. Hopefully it'll stand up here. That's not going to stand up there. Let's do this. I want you guys to pay close attention to it. I'm sorry if you can't see it here. I'll turn it maybe where everybody can see it, or just stop by and look at it here in a minute. A boss says I, but a leader says we. A boss uses people, but a leader develops people. A boss inspires fear, but a leader generates enthusiasm. A boss says go, but a leader says let's go. A boss knows how it's done, but a leader will show you how it's done. A boss fixes blame, but a leader fixes mistakes. A boss demands respect, but a leader earns respect. A boss will do things right, but a leader will do the right thing. It takes a very special person to do this job, and it's something that's very difficult to understand if you've never walked in those shoes. It's difficult to understand the mentality of a group of people who would wake up every day willing to die for the person standing next to them. It's difficult to understand the mentality of a group of people who would wake up every day willing to die for their community. And that's all of you. The person who leads that group of people has to be able to understand that and live by that. Really, the person that leads that group of people needs to be one of them. And it's for those reasons that I ask that you take a stand for experience, integrity, and leadership, and vote Chris Brown for sheriff on March 1st. Thank you guys very, very much for being here. I'm just blessed to be on I hope y'all eat all the food because I don't want to take it all home with me, okay? So stick around, eat, and have a good time, and I'll try to make it by and say hi to everybody. Please don't feel bad if I don't say hi, okay?
Testing. Can you hear me? Hey, we thank everybody for coming out. Stay as long as you like. Eat as much as you like. If we run out, we'll go get chicken or something, okay? But we've got several choices in this campaign. We've got some good people running for sheriff. But if you want someone that can be a leader, that knows how to motivate people, that can lead from the front and not from the back, ladies and gentlemen, we need a leader in this community as sheriff, not a manager, okay? We need a leader. And Chris Brown is that man. Thank y'all for coming out. Stay as long as you like. I think you guys will come up and do a little more playing, enjoy yourselves, and if you got questions for Chris, just grab him and wring it out of him.
I gotta get up and work my